Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Sweaty Palms podcast. I'm your host Zoe Dillon, and today I'll be interviewing the band members from Underground Springhouse, Charlie Haas, Mitchell Davidson, Max Motely, Jacob Sherwin, and Jackson Thompson. You may know them from their smash hit Joy Fell with over 1,300,000 views on Spotify. Since forming in 2018, the Athens-based band has released 2 EPs, and in April of 2021 released their debut self-titled album. Springhouse's music can be described as rock and roll mixed in with undertones of funk, rock, and reggae. And I just want to start out by thanking you guys so much for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So I'd love to start out this interview by asking you, like, every band has a story, and I want to ask you if you could walk me through yours.
Yeah, absolutely. The band formed here in Athens early on when we were in college and started off as just a cover band, just for fun, playing fraternity stuff and at bars, really just for fun. And then we started making original music and slowly got more serious and worked our way up the Athens circuit to now playing Georgia Theater, which was once just a dream for some, new college kids that were just excited to be in the Athens scene. So
That's really cool.
yeah.
Don't you have a show coming up March, is it 17th?
We do, on St. Patrick's Day.
Nice.
March 17th.
Is that the Georgia Theater?
Yes, at
Okay.
Georgia Theater with a cool band from Virginia called Kendall Street Company.
Uh-huh.
And we're playing in Atlanta the next day after that at Aisle 5 in Little 5 Points with the same band.
I'm going to be at the Georgia Theater to support y'all, so
Awesome.
You'll see me in the crowd screaming in the back. Or no, I'll be in the front because I'm short, so you won't be able to see me from the back. Okay, so transitioning from that, how did you choose the name Underground Springhouse? I was just curious.
That name came from just early on in college, a joke with one of my fraternity brothers that it was just a phrase I stuck to and said, if we ever make a band, that sounds like a cool band name.
Nice, yeah.
So it's a phrase I heard and kept in the back pocket kind of until we needed a name.
How has starting your band in Athens, Georgia, like when you guys were college students, impacted your career now? Like, do you think, how would it be different if you'd started it after college versus before?
I'll give Jackson this one because he actually transferred to UGA, so he's got a perspective of 2 different college towns.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. World traveler. No, I mean, Athens is just like, it's got its own scene. It's had, famous bands throughout all the decades, and, they've had different iterations of the scene, but it's always been a pretty well insulated music scene. I feel like I know a lot of people here, and I've gotten a lot of opportunities because, people are always trying to be playing as much as possible and do different kind of things. Like, I knew Jacob and Chuck before I joined this band a couple months ago, and it was really because I saw the first iteration, or I guess, I don't know, a really old version of Underground Springhouse years ago, and me and Max and Mitch all played in a band when I first got to town, and we played together for 3 years or so. And sprinkled in, Jacob played a few times. So that's how I got to know him. And, people are just trying to play so much that you form different side projects, and slowly, somebody will join one band. And what happened was that, with this version of this band, what were you first? Max joined it first and then recruited Mitch from the previous project. And then they were like, well, and then I became the third from the previous project together.
Nice.
So,
just
as opposed to I lived in Boulder for 6 months, Colorado.
Nice.
And not near, I was a different person at the time. So I didn't, have the ability to go out and network, which is another thing that Athens was good for me. But it didn't seem like the scene was nearly as prevalent, at least from what I could find. And, and then versus Atlanta's huge.
Right.
So
that's really, really cool. I didn't know that, so thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I'm sure everybody who's listening is going to think that's really cool too. Okay, kind of off topic, but what part of, did you grow up in Colorado?
No, I'm from Atlanta.
Okay. Wait, why were you in Colorado?
Yeah, I went, I'm from Atlanta, and I went to Colorado was the only place I got into directly out of high school.
Okay.
And I applied to Georgia, and I didn't get in, and I was really mad at the time. I was like, but I went to Colorado, and then slowly I was like, if I'm going to do this music thing, I'd like to do it in Athens, where I grew up, coming and, watching Georgia games and listening to REM and watching, all these sweet bands from this town. There's like a documentary called Athens Inside and Out that I think gives a good indication of how the scene can be here. And that's from like the mid 1980s.
Right.
Yeah, but
I think you described it perfectly, that like the music scene here is so integrated. Like if you know somebody in it, you know everybody essentially, just because it's so connected.
Right. Yeah. Like over time, you'll just build a network of people where if you want to do a one-off show, you just call somebody. There's too many. You just can call anybody to fill in the gaps of, if the people you usually play with aren't available, or if you're trying to go a little bit of a different direction.
Also, the opportunities in Athens there's so many of them that it allows bands to play a bunch live and get so much better and hone in their skills on it, because in a lot of other college towns there's no one really cares about local bands or original music, and to be able to go play at any of the bars downtown or any of the venues or any random backyard parties or fraternity events, or it's endless, and it gives bands that's something special about Athens, that gives bands so many opportunities that they don't have other places.
Why did you guys choose to be musicians? Like, what led you to realize that this was a career path that you guys wanted to pursue? And what do you think it takes to make like a band that works well together? What are good elements for that?
I wanted to play music because it makes me feel good, and to know that you can like communicate with other people through your instrument is something that you can't really describe. It's just a feeling you can't describe. And I don't know. I'm not good at answering that question.
No, that was good. I think part of that's a great answer, because it's like, I just like to play, and then it transitions from there, because if you have a passion for something, you should pursue it. So
what was the second part of that question?
I forgot. Oh yeah, like what are good elements? Like what do you think are elements that make y'all successful? What's something that like you get along really well? Are you really good friends? Like is it based on a friendship kind of? Yeah, what are elements that make y'all as good as you guys are?
Well, a guy named Jackson Thompson told me that the majority of music is just hanging out.
Right.
So you got to be able to do that with the guys that you're playing music with, or else you're probably not going to be successful. If you can't hang out in the same room, you're not going to be able to stand in the room and play music and effectively communicate through your instrument with each other.
Right. Okay. That's, yeah. Sorry if I'm a little awkward.
No, sorry if I'm a little awkward.
Oh my God. Okay. So this is to go into y'all's creative process, like your songwriting process. What's your favorite song that you guys have ever written? And can you talk about why?
I'm probably not the most qualified to answer this. Like, I haven't written the most songs in this band, but songwriting process, kind of what goes into that sort of
and
thing.
It could just be like not just the lyrics, but how you create the music.
I mean, I think for us it works differently. I mean, honestly, I'm still definitely pretty green when it comes to the songwriting process. Like, I haven't done it a lot, but I think collaboratively, like someone's got an idea and they bring it to the band and they go, here's an idea. And depending on how, developed that idea is, we'll kind of sit there and just collaborate on it. And people kind of just get to go, what about this? What about this? And maybe the originator of the idea has, some idea of the direction and wants, I don't know, there's that, because we're really into playing live. And, that to me is the discipline that we've worked on the most, just because we get gigs and we've got to practice for them. So like we're kind of always in that live mentality. I would say, like, even when we go into the studio, I mean, we try to keep it pretty, we overdub solos and stuff like that, but I mean, our recording process is primarily kind of tracked the way we would play something live. And I think because we are in that mindset a lot, like we'll get a lot of ideas, you know, somebody will just come up with something. I feel like a lot of the time, like Jackson will always remember something cool that happened live or like something that he played. I don't know. Like, I feel like you've got a lot of licks that have kind of grown over time from stuff that I feel like you've been playing since like Live Oak days that developed into like, you know, we still play. And there's a lot of ideas that it's weird when you play live a lot. You'll kind of exchange stuff that like we've never gone in there and said, hey, let's practice this. But like, I guess just motifs or whatever that you kind of return to. And like, I always recognize when you're playing like the Fishwater type bass line. Right. Yeah. And I guess that's a little different from songwriting. I guess I've just rambled into a different, but it does, I feel like, influence the songwriting process somewhat because kind of like Mitch was saying, the way we're able to talk to each other instrumentally, and not that that's like a totally unique talent, but it's something that I think we have done well at honing. I think a lot of ideas songwriting wise are communicated through that practice and rehearsal process and then become included in the song kind of naturally.
So how do you decide when you guys are rehearsing or you're creating music, how do you decide what goes on an album versus what doesn't? Like, do you have songs that you really liked, but they just didn't make the cut?
The executives at the company.
Okay.
Yeah, they tell us what singles I'm just kidding. No, we, basically since we put out our last round of music, that was pretty much all the music that had been brought forward to the band at that time. It was like, okay, we've got 10 songs. And I mean, I had just joined the band at that point. So there were a couple that were cut, but like it was like of the 11 songs that were there, the 10 of them made the album. And then since then, the songs that we finished, we're getting ready to put out 2 new singles. And I think kind of our plan right now is like kind of just release stuff sort of as we go. Mm-hmm. And so like you said, I mean, how do we choose stuff for an album? We're not having to choose to cut anything or anything like that because we're kind of putting it all out as we go.
Nice.
Yeah, I guess because we're focused on the live shows, but also just because like I listen to a lot of like, you know, classic rock stuff. So in kind of the philosophy, the discipline back then was like if the album was kind of an art form in itself, you know. I mean, really like, you know, Pink Floyd, the Beatles in their later years. And I'm just saying stuff that like, you know, a 15-year-old knows about rock music. But they put out albums that are kind of complete works rather than a collection of songs or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so I think for us, if we're not making a 10-song body of work, then what's the point in saving your songs and not releasing them as you've got them, you know?
Right. So it seems like y'all, I mean, obviously you mentioned live music a lot, so that could be a good transition into this next part. But before we do that, I'd love to talk about your most popular song, Joy Fell. Can you describe to me the writing process of that song and how it came to be?
Yeah, I wrote that song and at that time was just so eager to put out original music. I was writing a lot of songs at the time and we were just doing cover gigs, just playing covers all night at every show. Mm-hmm. And looking up to guys that were a couple years ahead of us, like AFTM and all the local Athens bands that were making original music. It was like, shoot, we can do that. You know, we have a few good songs that we can record and, you know, we might as well give it a shot and make some original tunes. And so it was really just a thing of being so eager to record some original music. There wasn't any practice done before we went into the studio. It was, I had the song. It's pretty simple. If you play guitar or instruments, you can hear it out in a very short amount of time. It's a simple song, but we got to the studio and I was like, guys, it's these 2 chords, throw a dance beat behind it. Let's make an original song. So it was very not overthought at all. We underthought it. We just were like, let's do it.
That's really interesting that you bring that up because I had a friend who I interviewed last week and she mentioned her most popular song on the platform she made in like 5 minutes after like a test.
Really?
So it's crazy that you mentioned that this is one of your most popular songs and you just went with it.
Probably put the least amount of effort into it like beforehand. Mm-hmm. And we're completely shocked by the amount of like response that we got off it immediately. What'd you say?
That's really cool.
No, we put way more effort into Float.
But still, it was short.
Like we didn't practice a whole lot
Yeah.
before. Yeah, I guess not. But Joy fell. They didn't know the song.
I was just rebutting Charlie, but he's right. That's the first time I've ever said that. That's also on record. Cheers.
But yeah, float the time away. We basically practiced it like for a few days before we recorded that. But yeah, Joy fell. We went in and we're like, they learned it in the studio. But the studio then was a friend's basement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just home studio.
Nice.
That was, yeah. Shout out Chris Richardson. Shout out Hutch Fletcher for
Shout out. Shout out my ball blue.
yeah.
So when you're in the studio, can you talk about what do you do?
I click my heels 3 times and the music comes out. So in what do you mean? What do we do? Like from like when, like what is the studio process like to record a song?
exactly. Yeah.
So we just, shameless self-promotion, we just recorded 2 songs and we'll put them out soon, probably one, and then wait a little bit, put out another one. But so for this past recording project, we worked with our friend Patrick Doherty, who I played in a band with when I first got to Athens. Was like fall 2016, and the band was called 200 East, which is now Kudzu Samurai, which I don't think maybe is playing shows anymore, but I'm not exactly sure. But Patrick's an awesome dude, and so he's got this little recording studio in the back of his house. And yeah, we just kind of went in there with the songs ready to go. So yeah, so we set up and we, sound checked everything, made sure everyone could hear everyone else, kind of set up the room in a way that we could get the best recording. So, setting up sound barriers, putting amps behind things, turning amps around, positioning things in the room well such that you can get the best recording, which takes time. Usually that's like an hour and a half, 2 hours before you even start playing. And then once they get everything figured out, all that kind of stuff, then it's really just running through the song a few times. Our process usually, because we, like Max was saying, we try to keep it as close to when we practice it, when we learn the song, when we play it live as possible. And then, yeah, so we'll play through it a few times. And then, yeah, that'll usually be a day. Usually we'll track the whole song in a day, all the bass parts, like bass line parts. So like drums, bass, rhythm guitar, keys if there's just like simple parts, or we're in a studio space that has the instrument that we're looking for with keys, then we'll do like one line of something. But normally keys, solos, lead guitar, anything else that's ancillary, percussion, background vocals, harmonies, anything like that usually is like an add-in afterwards. So this last go around we tracked both of these songs in one day, if I remember correctly, and then went back in for another day to do like dubs, like overdubs on one of them, and then another day for the other one. And then I went back another day to do percussion stuff. So it's kind of just like an ongoing process, and I guess it's never takes as little time as you think it's going to, no matter how prepared you are. But yeah, that's usually our process. And then with Patrick, it's been really awesome. We've been able to go back over to his place and mix the tunes. And then we've, like our last album, we're going to send these tunes off to John Keane, who did all the Widespread Panic stuff, and REM. But yeah, so he did the last stuff, sounds really great. So we're going to send this stuff off to him too. And yeah, should be out soon.
That's
Cheers.
really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much, I knew how much, conceptually I didn't know how much work goes into making a song just because I've never been a part of that process. So it's really cool that you explained it, like, obviously, like, perfectly. So thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's, I guess, transition into performing live, because you guys mentioned that a lot already, and I'd love to talk more about that if you guys are cool with that. So what's the thing that you guys, and it'll be different from each of you, I'm sure, and maybe you guys share similar things in this, but what's the thing that you love most about performing, and what's been your favorite performance so far, and why?
My favorite thing about performing is making it stanky up in there.
Could you elaborate?
Yeah.
Stank face.
I don't know that I can elaborate on that, but the best part about playing is not only like I said before, communicating with the guys on stage, but also like the live, like the audience aspect of it, getting a reaction out of the audience, being able to feed off of that into like having that feed into your playing. It's a huge part of it.
Can you see that well when you're on stage? Because I know the lights are on you, like, and in your face. So, like, can you see out into the crowd? Like, how well can you see people's reactions?
Yeah, it kind of just depends on what stage we play on, but
Okay.
normally you can see out into the crowd. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It seems to almost be like the nicer the light rig, the less you can see.
Ah, Interesting. Okay.
Like at Georgia Theater, it's really hard to see past the first few rows.
Right.
But in a bar that
Right.
barely has a light rig, you can see the whole thing.
That's really cool. I would love to, like, if I ever, I mean, I don't perform, but if I ever did, I think I'd love to be in a setting where I can actually see the crowd really well. And like it's less hot. Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. But then you're less sweaty because I feel like the light's beating down on you. Yeah. I would.
No, you're sweaty no matter what. Don't
Yeah,
worry
okay,
about that.
yeah.
That's gonna happen.
So your guys' sound is like very groovy and seems to pull inspiration from the 70s. What did you grow up listening to? Or is that, you seem to have a very visceral reaction to that. Is that correct? Would you?
I grew up listening to classic rock.
Okay.
You know, Dad
Who are your
showed me the
favorite-
good shit.
Yeah, your
And,
favorite artists.
Favorite artists. Growing up, my favorite artists were different than my favorite artists currently are.
Okay.
But I like Widespread Panic,
Nice.
and I like the Jacob Sherwin band. That's a really good, it's a really good. My early influences, I listened to a lot of Primus, Megadeth. No, I'm kidding. This is all bullshit. I listened to a lot of Leonard Skinner, AC/DC, Beatles. You know, Beatles that's the wheelhouse right there. That's the good stuff.
Right.
Kind of transformed into grunge somewhere around high school, and found my way into, I guess if you want to call it that, the jam scene, because that's what it is. But found the Grateful Dead, and that shit's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Totally. Did y'all know the band Rooster? They did Grateful Dead, like a cover.
Yeah, they did Touch a Grave.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I think all five of us would obviously have lots to say about all of our influence, though. But that's what makes it cool too, with with the songwriting process and playing live, and the communication. All of it together is being in a band. That's the fun of it. Is everyone has similar but different influences. So sometimes we'll be playing and Mitch will rip out some grungy like guitar sound, and it's like makes you laugh because like, oh, it's your personality showing through your music playing. Or just for example, or with songwriting, like I tend to write more. I like writing like reggae songs and like more beachy rock kind of stuff, and that definitely comes from my influence. And all these guys have a billion others that go into their songwriting too, so it's cool.
Yeah, I just listening to some of y'all's songs, I can see like different influences throughout. Like I listened to them with my mom because she was like, "Who are you interviewing next week?" I'm like, "Oh, I'll show you." And she like pulled up like all these different artists that she grew up listening to, and she's like, "This reminds me of this person." This person,
Oh,
that person."
nice.
Yeah, so it's really cool. So I guess that can kind of go off of this question too. But do you guys know who your demographic of listeners are? Like the majority of them, like when you perform and you look out into the crowd at concerts, who's in the crowd?
I think it's like, yeah. We had some people twerking to some
Are you
bluegrass.
kidding?
Yeah. Macon's a fun town.
What?
I like
okay.
Macon.
Yeah.
Macon, bacon, and Macon. No, I mean it's I have not been in the band long enough to know, I guess, perfectly. Well, I don't. It depends on the venue, because we play a lot of venues where people are they just know there's a band there.
Okay.
But then we got a lot of people who we see in Athens with consistency. But right now, I think we're just in a stage where we're playing a lot of either bars that people don't know exactly who we are, but maybe have heard some things, or we play a lot of private events that are like Greek life type things. So
Gotcha.
that's something that you kind of see with consistency. But
Right.
I mean, right now, I think mostly it's just kind of like a college crowd.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know.
No, that's good. I mean, that's a good answer.
It's you see a lot of people, but you don't ever really. I am not the best at like interacting with the crowd, I guess, afterwards. But typically, I mean, you just see kind of just like a younger crowd, I guess.
Got a pretty good Spotify following in Israel.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Can we talk about your Spotify demographics? That's kind of cool. I guess I could. Why do you think that? Like, what? Or why do you think that is?
It is really cool though. Yeah, Spotify. It's a love-hate relationship with Spotify. They don't pay artists anything,
Right. Yeah.
which stinks. But also, they shoot your music out all over the world, and there's no way people in Israel would have ever heard our music. Well, yeah, but people all over the world, at least, wouldn't have been able to hear our music if it weren't for Spotify. So it's love hate,
Right.
It gives you opportunities if people haven't heard you, but back in the day we would have been selling CDs at all our shows, probably making a lot more money, but our music wouldn't have been spreading as far probably. So yeah.
Right. I guess I could ask this now. Where do you guys hope to see your band being in like five years from now?
Madison Square Garden.
Nice. Good answer.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, so many implications. Obviously, larger stages are always. Yeah. We're always down. I think really, still playing and making money. Enough money to live doing it would be the goal. I really don't know. People seem to, obviously there are very few superstars in music. There are very few superstars in anything, but I don't know how many people, carve out a middle-class lives for themselves playing music. Because it just seems like generally I feel like your perception is distorted just because you see the bands that you might really like or something like that. But typically a lot of the times those bands are really successful. So I don't know. I have no idea like what level in 5 years would be the level meaning, what size stage or what festival or what would be the level that it would take for us to be able to live just by playing music. But I don't think any of us are expecting or not that we're not that we wouldn't. Sorry.
Said we're expecting exponential growth.
Yeah, well, but we don't. But that doesn't mean none of us would probably. Is that vain to say that if we saw exponential growth, I think everybody would be stoked about exponential growth.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Linear growth is so 2000 and late. No, really, I think in 5 years, everybody would like to see the band playing and at a point where it's grown somewhat, so anyway.
Yeah, and playing every day.
So
I really wish I had more than one microphone so I could pick up on all y'all's commentary because they're missing out on so much and I'm really sad about it. I'm sorry, guys. When I get more high tech, it'll be better. So I just want to ask these. These are like fun story questions. So like things that y'all like, crazy things that have happened to y'all, like the best things that have happened to y'all. This is kind of like the category for that. So what is y'all's favorite story from being on the road or touring?
Probably not my favorite story, but just a good one that comes to mind, a memorable one. Was pretty recently. We spent all night in a McDonald's parking lot outside of Charlotte after our bus broke down. Yeah, and we were trying to crank up the bus, and it was not cranking up. And me and Mitch went to spray some starter fluid, and we popped the hood, and yes, a fiery ball of explosion came out of me and Mitch's face and singed our eyebrows off.
It did.
But if anyone wants to buy said bus, it is in the shop, and we will be selling it and hoping to upgrade very shortly.
It's only blown up once.
It's only blown up once.
Track record.
It's, great track record. She's still got a lot of miles left in her.
I saw Steve-O because of that too, so that was fun. He was in the Charlotte airport and he had his dog with him.
Oh, are you kidding? Did you talk to him?
No, he had a very big dog with him.
Oh yeah, I
So
mean,
I thought
why.
we were kind of in a rush to get to Virginia.
Right.
So
Did you like snap a pic or anything?
I was really fearful of the dog.
Okay, yeah. Wait, what kind of dog? Like,
He had a lot of people around him.
ah.
He had a guy who I would hope was working for him wearing a shirt with his face on it. It is. It seems pretty standard.
With his face on it?
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, that's a vibe. Yeah.
I think
You guys should do that. Like, you guys all wear shirts of each other, like with each other's faces on it. That'd be funny. Yeah. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I think my favorite is when we were in Mobile, and me and Max went up to the motel we were gonna stay at, and it was the sketchiest motel in America.
Uh-huh.
And we were like, there's no way we're staying here. And our buddy Chris Driscoll came to the rescue and housed 6 grungy, sweaty dudes in his beautiful house. And his parents cooked us breakfast.
Aww.
And they were very sweet. So that's probably my favorite as of recently.
So wholesome. So what's the funniest thing that's ever happened to y'all while traveling or on the road or performing?
I don't
I
know.
thought it was pretty funny when we had a lady twerking for us.
To bluegrass.
Yeah.
There was bluegrass playing. We were playing some bluegrass. You know,
she was thrown back, as they say.
she was really. It was like on the stage. Like she had like one foot up on the stage, you know, and it's funny, you know, okay, so my funniest thing that's ever happened at a show was in the same place the last time we played there at the Hummingbird in Macon. Awesome spot. Go check it out. Shameless plug for the Hummingbird in Macon.
You can smoke cigarettes inside.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. But so it like stays in everything. But so the last time we played there, we're like packing everything up and these dudes just decided that it was time for a brawl. And Max had his keyboard like cradled in his arms, was putting it in the case, and like the stage, the front of the stage has like corners. I don't know how to describe it, but it kind of like, it's like rather than being rectangular, it has like smaller and smaller like squares kind of. It's weird. But so Max got like cornered by these dudes fighting, and it was this whole thing, and Mitch and I are just standing on stage, or Jackson, I don't remember who it was, but just like watching the whole thing go down, and Max's face is like stuck between like holy shit and like not my keys and like oh my god, yeah, it was brand new, and it was just like I cannot believe this is happening right now. Something crazy always happens there, but it wasn't funny. Nothing funny happens in Underground Springhouse.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch.
Undergroundspringhouse.com.
How did it end?
We're on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Prime.
How did it end? Did y'all not like? Why didn't you help him?
It's a liability. No, I'm kidding. We are limited liability, so no, I'm kidding. No, just
Undergroundspringhouse.com.
Yeah, undergroundspringhouse.com is really just it. Yeah, no, I don't know.
I think the manager broke it up pretty quickly.
Yeah, just the whole thing was so entertaining.
Security.
I just like
somebody
sat
broke it
down.
up.
I think maybe it was just like, yeah, hell yeah, you know, just kind of sometimes at the end of the night, it's a good time.
I feel like
Tie-tie.
also it's kind of like a dog fight. You never, if you're smart, you never stick your hand in a dog fight because you know you're gonna lose a finger, so you just let somebody else do it for you. Yeah. Okay. That's kind of vibe that it sounds like. Got it.
For the best.
So what's y'all's favorite fan story other than the woman twerking? Is that your favorite fan story?
My favorite recent one was homegirl from Statesboro shamelessly DMing me on Instagram asking if Max had a girlfriend.
Oh.
I hope you're not listening and embarrassed, but
You didn't say her name. It's fine.
yeah, that was pretty. Yeah, buy our merch. Fan stories though. I think she was just a fan of Max. I don't think she really cared for the band.
It's good that you know now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Better a friend. She's honest.
Actually, my favorite fan story, the coolest thing that I've probably ever heard just from the band, was this guy we know named Nick Puglisi came and was throwing the Frisbee with us one day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was during COVID, and he had just come back from studying abroad in like Chile or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he met some guy over there that was also from a different country.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed Nick our band. And he was like, dude, I know those guys.
What?
Are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
so I guess that's a distant fan.
Yeah.
It was
Buy
I
their
wasn't
merch.
there to experience the memory, but that's probably my favorite, coolest thing that I've heard.
That's
coolest
really cool.
connection. Yeah.
Yeah, I showed y'all to my family in Portugal, so you got people in Portugal
Oh,
now
that's
too. Yeah,
awesome.
check it out on
Thank you.
Spotify. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, I think I already asked. Well, Max might have touched on it. He said Madison Square Garden, but what would be your dream gig? Like, if you could play anywhere in the world, where would you want to play? Anywhere
Probably have
at all.
5 different answers here. Let's
Oh
go
yeah,
around
I
on
want.
this one.
Yeah, please. I'd love to hear everybody.
Yeah, my name's Mitchell Davidson, and I want to play in my living room.
I'm Jacob, and I would say Red Rocks probably.
I am Charlie, and I think playing on the main stage at 420 Fest would be really cool, looking at the Atlanta skyline, playing in Centennial Park.
Jackson. Red Red Rocks, definitely. That would be ridiculous to do.
Wait, can I have a question? No, you can have it. Have you seen a concert there or been there since, you were in Colorado for a while?
Yeah, I've been to close to 10 shows there, I think,
Nice.
but probably over that. But it's because, I went to like 3 straight Widespread Panic 3-night runs there. So that was, that was a lot of money. I worked a job specifically to pay for that run one year.
Right.
But like, I've seen a few shows like Humphreys McGee and Tame Impala was really good. Anybody who has like
so
awesome
cool.
lights at that place is just unbelievable because it just
Right.
bounces off the rocks. It's really cool.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I've never been. I want to go.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Hey, Mitch here. Playing in my living room would be pretty cool, but what's it called? Yeah, that one. Tipitina's. It's in New Orleans, I believe. Yeah. I've seen. I've just heard things about it. I actually don't even know if it's still open. I've heard that it's a snake den. It's a den of thieves. Yeah, I heard it's very dangerous, and you don't want to be caught there at night. No, I like in my living room. Yeah.
Dream venue. Max. I guess Red Rocks is a pretty good answer. I think the Fox Theater would be cool in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Just because I grew up going to shows there. It was weird. I grew up going to when I'd go to the Fox, it was always like a nice show with my parents, you know. But like now I go to the Fox and like I'll go to see like Panic shows there, and it's just it's weird going to a rock show at the Fox because you associate it with, I don't know, I associate it with like going to stuff around like Christmas time and like
Didn't they have Hamilton there?
yeah,
too?
I saw that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like that's a place like I used to dress up to go, and then it's like everyone's wearing like tie dye and drinking a bunch of beer and but so I think the Fox would be really cool. I just think that's such a cool venue and I've had a lot of fun going there.
Nice.
Yeah.
I loved all y'all's answers. Those are really cool. And I want to go to Red Rock at some point too. So hopefully it'll be at y'all's show in 5 years. Or less. Yeah, in 1 year, in 2 months. Yeah, 2. Okay.
I made a deal with my girlfriend's dad, like right when we started dating, that he was like, if and when y'all ever play Red Rocks, I get to go on stage. And it was like right when I met him, so I'm too scared to say no.
Right.
No, dude, let's have
And
him
so
let's have him do the KFC thing.
the KFC thing.
Yeah, where we're gonna have just somebody sit on stage and eat a bucket of KFC. We're not gonna say anything about it.
And just don't even acknowledge his presence.
Don't acknowledge it.
I think it'd be pretty awesome, but he does have good stage presence. I've seen him on. Y'all may have seen him on stage. You may have at Fiji that time.
I saw him at his golf event.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yes, yeah. So he can command a crowd, no doubt. But just saying, if we ever happen to get there, just letting y'all know that's gonna have to happen, or I will not win her hand in marriage.
You have to change the if to when.
Yeah, when.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, my wrap-up question that I'd like to ask is, I'm sure some of the people who listen to this podcast may be aspiring artists or musicians. What would you say to your younger self that would help those who want to be successful in this industry accomplish what y'all are already doing?
Hey, Mitch here. The answer to that question is just play with as many people as you can. And that's that.
Okay.
For me. Anybody else?
It's like this is like something if you take like MBUS is one of the things that you learn, but you have no idea what's going to be successful and when it will be. So just making as many attempts as possible, because something you will stick that you wouldn't think, or the other way around. Also, learn multiple instruments, because as somebody who's played, I play bass, and as somebody who plays bass, I was in like 6 bands at one point in this town, and everybody's always looking for somebody who plays drums or keys or bass or something like that, so just gives you a lot more opportunities if you're a little bit more of a versatile person.
Buy our merch. Just kidding. But so I think similarly to what everyone else said, just get in as much opportunities, like take advantage of every opportunity, put yourself out there, and don't be scared to do things that you might shy away from because it's not what you prefer, what you know. My Athens music story is kind of different from everyone else's because everyone kind of just did the jam band thing because that's what they wanted to do. I played with a math rock band, and then I played with a country band, and I did some like blues kind of R&B stuff, and then I played with a jam band, and then I did some more of the country stuff and the blues R&B stuff, and then back with the jam band. So it's like you can do a whole lot of stuff, and all of that stuff will make you a better player, even if it's not really what you want to do like all the time. Plus, like, that shit pays, so go take those gigs. Everything. Practice. Buy our merch.
Charlie here. My advice would be, if you're thinking about doing it or you're afraid or scared, just do it. Just if you're hesitating, just go for it. Dive in. Like, we were eager to just put a song out. We just said, we're just going to do it. I'm like, hey, studio on Saturday, let's go. I'll teach you the song there. We didn't look back. I have a good buddy, Jake Rogers. He has a band, Champagne Lane. Their first song, Golden Hour, he was sending it to me, hesitant about releasing it. And I'm like, dude, this is a great song. You should release it. It's got 3 million listens now. Like, both, just an example of both of our bands where we were just hesitating and then said, screw it, let's do it. And then it jump-started our careers, basically. So if you're scared or you're hesitating or just do it. The worst that can happen is it doesn't take off, and then you can at least know that you tried. Mm-hmm. That's my advice. But I'm still looking for a lot of advice myself, so if there's any elder musicians out there that have some for me, I'm all ears.
Do you want to add to that, Max?
Sure. Yeah, I guess like practice. Obviously, you got to practice because you got to know your instrument, branch out, get to know people. Mitch, Jackson, and I were super lucky because we got here and started. We knew each other. Mitch and I knew each other. We were in the same fraternity. And I knew Jackson through a mutual friend of ours, Ben Meyer. And so we were really lucky. Like, I guess Jackson had been here for a little bit, but Mitch and I got to school and had people to play with kind of right out of the gate. But, that's not the case for like most people, just because they don't have an ensemble that they can play with that quickly. So kind of like Jacob said, play around and you never know what'll lead you where, and try to go to shows of other local bands that, like, even if it's not your thing 100%, once you're kind of around people that are also doing it, I feel like it sort of at the least puts you in the right state of mind, and then at the best it can actually put you in direct contact with people that also want to play music or pursue art or whatever. So
right. I lied. I said that was the last question, but I wanted to ask y'all, do you have any upcoming shows that you'd like to announce and or talk about?
Okay, buckle your seatbelts. Here we go, folks. Okay, just kidding. So, yeah, we've got some awesome shows coming up. Starting next week, we are in Charleston on the 11th, kind of kickstarting a little run of shows that we're doing. That one's just us at the Charleston Poorhouse Deck on March 11th. And then the next week, we are going on a little tour with Kendall Street Company, an awesome band from Charlottesville, Virginia. And yeah, so that tour will go Greensboro on March 16th, and then Athens on St. Patty's Day. Atlanta, the next night is March 18th, Friday night. Then we hit Birmingham at Avondale Brewery with Bird Dog Jubilee and Lua Flora. So it'll be an awesome show. That's like an outdoor, awesome brewery space. And then we're in Nashville the next night. And then the next weekend is all North Carolina shows. Raleigh, Charlotte, and then Asheville, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we'll wrap it up on the 26th in Asheville. All that information's on our website, undergroundspringhouse.com, which is the same place that our merch is at. But yeah, so more of the good, less of the bad. Hoorah, hoorah, hoorah. See you at a show. Yeah, and we've also still have a couple of openings for a couple of private events too, wherever you people are listening from, all over the wide world. But yeah, so hit us up. Come catch a show. Check us out online.
Thank you guys so much for coming on here and doing this with me. I really appreciate it. It was so cool to learn about you all like a little more and better, and I feel like more personally, I guess. Also, go follow them on Instagram. It's at Underground Springhouse. And if you guys want to follow each of them individually, I will put in the description like their personal Instagrams too, if y'all are cool with that. So Max can get a second girlfriend. Yeah. Is there anything else that you guys would like to add or mention or talk about while you still have the floor?
Yeah, you're thinking like a true Springhouse member here. We just additionally add girlfriends, but we love them all the same. This is good.
Thanks so much for having us on. That was a lot of fun. It was nice meeting you.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you guys too. Next time, hopefully when I interview y'all in the future, I'll have more than 2 mics. I promise.
No worries. No worries. It was fun. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
And before we go, I'm going to leave y'all with a little snippet of Underground Springhouse's song titled 5 O'Clock. Thanks so much for listening.
Sun shining down on the water like aluminum lake, but down to the bottom and up. Jump on in and I touch my toes. Moon shining down on the water, it illuminates glass reflection about a regatta. Why do you make it so hard to have to go? Oh, you never know just how lucky you are. And it's a miracle we made it so far.